Hello everyone, it's Nikki Batgirl D'Angeli here for Star Citizen Addicts Anonymous, and it has been a very long time since I did either a Star Citizen Addicts Anonymous or one of these, well, I call these state of the games, but it's really my perception of what's going on, not what's going on. So it's been a while since I've done one of these, and the reason being is I'm attending college again at the ripe old age of I don't talk about it anymore. Anyway, what's going on is I really don't have a lot of time. Full-time work for a Fortune 10 company and full-time schedule at school leave little time for play. In fact, the only time I've had for play, I've been spending 45 minutes to 90 minutes 3 or 4 nights a week playing World of Warships because it's easy to get in and out of and not a whole lot of things to keep you there if you don't have the time. So I jumped back into RCorp over here, the social module, or what I call the anti-social module. It actually is pretty social now that you can see in the lower right hand corner. You can actually talk to people, which you can't do in your hangars. And you could see other people running around and jumping around. But it's kind of like visiting a museum. There's not a whole lot of things you can touch and play with and do. There's a whole bunch of seats over here in this bar and you can't sit down. There's a bartender at the bar and he won't move and give me a freaking drink. So there's a lot of things missing in the social module, and of course it's missing that kind of life, the NPCs that are moving around and doing things. I think the word social module should have been, well, the word social module shouldn't have been used in this respect. It should have been called the RCorp technology demo. Everything here is gorgeous and it is going to be a beautiful and rich environment for us to exist in the Star Citizen universe. But right now, I don't know what's keeping me here outside of going and looking at the pretty sights and watching the ships go by. So I'm going to salute this guy and run off into the distance. As I'm running around, I want to make up and tell you I'm not as unhappy about this as I'm leading on. I think the artwork, like I said, is incredible, and it does give me an idea of what is going to be going on. When we look out the windows at some of the ships that are being taken care of out here, I get an idea of just what the interaction of the NPCs might be. But what is with all the steam everywhere you go? Now, I know that one time somebody said the reason that you put a haze, I think it was Alex Lindsay when he was talking about 3D environments. The reason that there's a haze is to give depth of field, otherwise everything looks like a moving picture. But there is so much haze, so much fog, so much steam in this world. Everywhere you go, I get the feeling that, well, we're not gonna live long. We're probably all gonna die of lung cancer or something in this game if we stay in RCorp. I'm just looking down at some of the paperwork, just seeing if they still have Chris and Eric's posters down there, and yep, they do. There's Chris's, and of course there's Chris's, and I know Eric's is here somewhere. Where is it? Oh, there it is, over there on the right. All right, so I'm not disappointed per se. I'm just probably over anxious. So it's a week and 2 days until CitizenCon, and what are we going to see there? Well, we're going to see the reason I signed on to this, the reason I backed Chris Roberts and Star Citizen. We're going to see Squadron 42. Because Squadron 42 is something that I've been looking for a long time. A worthy successor to the Wing Commander universe, and I can't wait to see how that game's starting to look. I hope they actually play through some kind of a prologue type mission, something that happens before the game, and that would be fun to see. That leads me to a couple of things. All right, now we know that there's some controversy. Derek Smart and his idiotic attacks on Star Citizen have not stopped, and you know, honestly, I don't understand what his problem is. Make a game. You have made games in the past. You have the people that back you, and stick with them. Why are you going out and attacking other people? It's beyond me why that's happening. And of course, there's other things going on in the Star Citizen world with magazine articles being run and Chris Roberts doing his rebuttals. And I try to stay out of those things, not because I'm not a good journalist, but because there's so much. It's so easy to find the hate. It's so easy to find the people that don't believe, that I like to go for the harder part of this. I like to get into the minds of the people that work at CIG, have them on the show, and find out what they have to say. Now, it is true, a lot of them come on and they say they're corporate mumbo jumbo, but I think that Ben has been pretty honest with me. And when I talk to Sandy, she is so overly honest, sometimes I can't put everything on camera. And that's not saying I've ever cut anything from you. What I'm saying is that sometimes talking to her when I'm not recording her because we're speaking as friends, I could never tell you guys what's going on. But what I can tell you is that the people that work there are passionate and they love the game and they love working for Chris. The 2 times I spent there, I spent well over 2 hours the first time and 8 hours the second time. All I saw was people working, and I got that air of belief, of that air, that feeling of everybody working towards a common goal. I didn't see the things that they're talking about in the magazine, but then again, my look at CIG was 2 days, 10 hours total, and that is so small. So I've quickly moved us over here to Freelancer, and the reason for this is to talk about a statement I made on my show a couple of episodes ago. And it was the show I do with Ben called Bensday. And what I said was the flight model in Star Citizen is nothing like the flight model in Freelancer. And I got jumped on by quite a number of people. And I'm going to stand by my statement, and I'm going to show you what I mean. But I'm probably going to tip my hat towards you because I understand what you mean. Now, there are 2 different things. There's a flight model, which is how the ship flies through space. And then there's control methods, which is how you control it. Here, I'm controlling it with the mouse and keyboard, trying to figure out how to get everything working first off. And honestly, the big thing here is that Star Citizen, in their mouse and keyboard mode, has been compared to Freelancer often. But what differs from in Star Citizen from Freelancer is that in Freelancer, without Newtonian physics, essentially your ship could make some pretty awesome turns, could keep itself from hitting objects, from skidding into objects, and that makes the game a hell of a lot easier. But one thing that people are talking about, you'll notice how my cannons, my laser weapons, will follow the cursor. You see that? See where the... Watch as I get one of them lined up. Alright, it took me a couple of seconds to get lined up here, and there we go. You see that? The guns are following the cursor. Now that is what people are talking about. Alright? Now, as you see us flying through space, we're just turning really sharp. We're doing something that you'd never be able to do in space. You'd be pulling G's like crazy. But that is what's behind the whole statement. So I loaded up Star Citizen and I got into my Avenger. Well, I didn't get into it. It was the first ship that came up. And I went off and joined a, well, it's not a co-op Vandal Swarm. It's just a standard Vandal Swarm. And I decided to test out the same type of thing here. Now you'll notice as I move my mouse cursor, the ship starts to fly in that direction. The control method here is more like War Thunder, not like Freelancer. Freelancer, I move the mouse, the ship goes in that direction. In War Thunder, you move the mouse and a virtual pilot flies it in that direction. That's kind of sort of what's going on here. But you'll also notice I have 2 cursor reticles, and one of them actually almost follows my velocity vector. It follows my mouse pointer. And the other one doesn't. The other one follows the velocity vector of the ship itself. And that might be what people are talking about, is that when you're using gimbaled weapons, it's a hell of a lot easier to get the weapons on target and destroy that target with those gimbaled weapons. Now, I understand this, and it's something that I've complained about frequently when I'm saying that there has to be some kind of parity in this control methods. And control methods, not flight model. I think that the mouse and keyboard does have its easy modes. But what you're going to find out here is that the easy modes are with the gimbaled weapons. And gimbaled weapons are typically one level lower than the highest level that you can carry. So in theory, somebody that's flying a ship with a joystick and HOTAS and has the one level weapons up that are fixed should be able to do better than the person that's flying with a mouse and keyboard. But it's not always the case. It is much easier, but what you're seeing here is almost blackouts and grayouts, and you see the slipping and sliding that goes on in this particular flight model. So I'm going to close this out real quick. I understand what you were saying about control methods, and I do agree that there has to be some work on them, but let them work on the game, and then we'll worry about the control methods. Right now, the game's not out, and this is something that comes after the ships are done, after the flight models are done, then they can work on the control method. But if the control method is still like this after the game comes out, I'm going to be disappointed. This isn't an easy mode per se, it just makes targeting easier with those gimbaled weapons. As you see, I was able to take out that ship rather rapidly with that nose cannon. So now we're back in ArcCorp, leading ourselves out into Dumpster Depot, which is a place that all things are recycled and sold back to you. I'm going to leave you with a couple of thoughts. So on the 10th, we have a major event going on with Star Citizen, being that it will be CitizenCon 2015. It's in Manchester, England, and they should be talking a lot about Squadron 42. Squadron 42 is the first part of the game coming out. Like I said, it's what I've been waiting for, and I'm really waiting for the Persistent Universe at this point, but it's Squadron 42 is why I got involved with the game. I really, like I said, wanted that successor to the Wing Commander universe. But there's also the first-person shooter module coming out, which should be able to make use of this area at some point. Let us run around this area and kill each other, or at least a different area. But my question is going to be very simple. What things are you waiting for? My big wait for item, the thing that I want most is Arena Commander 2.0. I'm not really that first-person shooter advocate. I know it's part of the game. I know it has to be part of the game, and I'm glad it is. But I just can't put my whole desire behind that. I'm looking forward to being able to work as a team on a Retaliator, on a Constellation, on a Cutlass, on a Freelancer, and fight against other people inside of Arena Commander. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to take the part of the game that we can play to a new level, and it's going to serve as a basis for testing the Persistent Universe in the future. So I really can't wait for Arena Commander 2.0. In the meantime, like I said, just a week and 2 days and we get to see Squadron 42. And at that point, we will all see how for real the game is. And I can't wait for that. Alright, before I start babbling and before I start succumbing to the lack of energy I have from the flu, I'm going to bid you all adieu. Thank you all for listening, subscribing. Don't forget about patreon.com/batgirl. It's a place that you could go and become a patron of the show and help the show to continue. Thank you all again. And with that said, you all be safe out there, and I'll talk to you soon.